Hello, good afternoon. My name is George Laird and welcome to the Laird Report. On today's little programme, I would like to talk about the Labour Party. The Labour Party, traditionally when it was first formed, was a party of the working class, a party of the left. Over several decades, however, the Labour Party has stopped being a working class party, and it is now a party which more or less is exclusively controlled by middle class, university educated professionals. What does this mean for the working class? Well, what this meant for the working class is that the working class actually has been abandoned by the party. Although they still rely on the working class as voter caches, more and more people are disillusioned by the way that the Labour Party, in particularly the Labour Party leadership, especially the Labour Party leadership of the right wing, is so utterly detached from the concerns, the aspirations of the working class man and woman. One of the things that the Labour Party has always suffered from is division, because the Labour Party is split into many little factions, but the two big factions obviously within the Labour Party are the left and the right. The problem with the Labour Party of the left is that the Labour Party of the left tends to have people who go to an extreme level. So they tend to be so wrapped up in their own little ideologies that they actually don't serve the working class man either. This has been a problem in the party for several years, but the real issue that really does kill the Labour Party is actually the right wing of the Labour Party. The Labour Party, as I said, over many years has effectively abandoned the working class. When I talk about the Labour Party, I'm not actually talking about rank and file members. For example, I used to be a member of the Labour Party myself, and for the most part, my time in the party among ordinary rank and file members was actually pretty good. For the most part, didn't have any real problems with anybody. Some people liked me, some people didn't like me. But at the end of the day, when you join the political party, you accept the fact that it's not an inclusive and welcoming party. And that pretty much is the same in all political parties because of cliques. But one thing which is strikingly bad for the Labour Party is that it has effectively, the leadership, disenfranchised half this country. And by disenfranchising half this country, what I'm actually talking about is women. Although the Labour Party likes to say it stands up for women, when it comes to the trans debate, the Labour Party is effectively like a lot of parties of the left. It has a minority within its ranks, the LGBT minority, who are quite vocal and who wield an influence which is detrimental to the party and to the wider society. This is one of the reasons why the Labour Party finds it difficult to get elected. Because when you're not representing the interests of the majority of people, then you struggle. And that is what happened in the Labour Party, especially in Scotland over 20 years. The Labour Party has been in a state of decline because the Labour Party has singularly not evolved in the way that people would expect a political party. Although there are elements within the Labour Party who like to champion their working class credentials, I think that's really few and far between. So I would like to turn now to a Labour MP called Charlotte Nichols. She has congratulated the swimmer Leah Thomas on, as she describes it, her achievements. Well, Leah Thomas, as people know who watch the news, etc., is not a woman. She never has been a woman. She was born a man, but she's a man who competes in women's events. And that is unfair, and many people recognise that it is unfair. Leah Thomas is a man, and as a man, he has biological differences which give him an undue advantage over biological women. But a Labour MP, by saying that Leah Thomas is in fact a woman, has condemned people who criticise that when people like myself and other people turn around and say that Leah Thomas is in fact a man. So she describes people who have that type of view as having lazy transphobia. Well, I would just like to say that I have absolutely no problem with a guy who says that they are a woman. None at all. If a man wants to wear a dress and says a woman, I've got no problem with that. If he wants to wear a wig and makeup and a dress and says a woman, I've got absolutely no problem with that at all. I'm not here to tell someone how to live their life. But when someone's life impacts on others, in this case women, something actually should be said. And the problem with the Labour Party is that they don't have the backbone, the leadership of the Labour Party don't have the backbone to actually tell the truth. Trans women are not women. A woman is an adult female human being. And people like Leah Thomas have never, ever, ever, and will never, ever, ever be a woman. That is an unfortunate thing for him. But for the rest of society, it creates a problem where people's rights are trampled on in favour of someone's feelings. Now, Charlotte Nichols saying that people are exhibiting lazy transphobia is actually quite a stupid statement to make. But what it does show is that she, as someone who could potentially be a government minister in a Labour government, is unworthy to hold public office. Yeah. She says that she was a former competitive swimmer. Well, maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. But that doesn't alter the fact of the issue, and it doesn't negate what people's arguments are about their objection to people like Leah Thomas and what she's done. Or, to be more precise, what he's done. Leah Thomas, I think, will eventually revert back to being a man. And I think the Labour Party is going to struggle to get the women's vote, which means that if they can't get the women's vote, they will not win public office. In Scotland, the trans issue isn't as particularly much of a big issue because we don't tend to have that problem. But a fight is coming, which was under the Gender Recognition Act, which will basically bring into sharp focus how a minority operating in a political party, in this case it will be the SNP, can have such an undue influence on that party, and it can abandon all rhyme and reason. So if you look at what's happening in the present moment, women's rights are actually under attack, but the Labour Party isn't going to stand up for women's rights. Just like the Scottish Greens, another political party which operates in Scotland, they're not going to stand up for women's rights either. And I think that women have to realise that voting for parties of the left who have effectively been manipulated and taken over by minority interests are not parties that they should actually vote for. what they should actually do is look for parties which actually support women. Now, there could be parties of the left which take a very strong view on this and say that women are actually biological females and therefore that they should get women's votes. In some respects, this is the tact which is taken by the Alba Party. On the other side of the coin, you have parties like the Conservative Party, which is a political party in Scotland and the rest of the UK, and they basically have come out and said that they are very squarely behind women's rights. And I think at the end of the day, people actually have to start to change the political landscape. This isn't just an issue about women. It's an issue about society in general and how this affects society in general. Years ago, if a man walked into a woman's private space, like a female changing room, started to strip off naked, the police would turn up and arrest that person. But these days, under the new political climate, where fear is used to suppress people speaking out about the emperor's new clothes, these type of people can get away with that now, which is totally wrong. I think the problem with Labour is it starts at the top. For example, Keir Starmer is now the Labour Party leader. He says the phrase "only women have a cervix" is something that shouldn't be said. It's not right. Well, the fact of the matter is, only women, biological women, have a cervix. Now, at the end of the day, if you are a man and you decide that you're going to have sex reassignment surgery, they may lop off your male genitals, they may give you fake breasts, they may pump you full of drugs to suppress your testosterone. But at the end of the day, as Robert Winston says, a woman cannot be turned into a man and a man cannot be turned into a woman. It's a sad state of affairs that this simple concept can't be upheld by people who wish to govern this country and who wish to stand for elected office. David Lammy, who's someone who's the Labour Shadow Foreign Secretary, says those who want to deny males access to women's spaces are dinosaurs who want to hoard rights. Well, he's actually said in his actual comments, males accessing women's spaces are dinosaurs. How can a woman be a dinosaur for wanting to have a safe space? I don't think that's an unreasonable request. And men wanting to use those spaces, it says quite a lot about them as individuals. Other people within the Labour Party, another person who's a former candidate to be the leader party, Lisa Nandy, says on the issue of rapists being allowed into women's prisons, should child rapist Christopher Wharton be housed in a women's jail now identifies as a woman? That question was put to her. And her answer is actually quite astonishing. She says, I think trans women are women and they should be accommodated in a prison of their choosing. Well, what we do know about male prisoners who call themselves women and who also then get put into women's prison, some of them go on to sexually abuse women in prison. I actually think that that type of mentality is incredibly disingenuous and incredibly stupid. Someone who I personally don't like as a politician, Emily Thornberry, has actually come out and said it's factually inaccurate to say only women have cervixes. What I note about all these people that are basically denying women their rights. They're all middle class and they're all university educated. And unless the Labour Party starts to address its internal problems, just like the SNP and just like the Scottish Greens, society at some stage must and will reject these parties. It's time that people woke up to what these political parties are doing. They're not representing the working class, they're not representing women, they're effectively factions that are interested in power and use minorities as a stick to cause division and grievance within our society. At the end of the day, a political party should be about uniting society. It should be about making people's lives better. If a person, as I've said earlier on in this little broadcast, wishes to say that they are in fact a woman, if they wish to wear a dress, if they wish to wear a wig, if they wish to put on makeup, I don't have a problem with that. Live your life as you wish to live your life. But to turn round and then say that because you say that you are a woman, that you should be allowed into a woman's personal space, such as a female changing room, such as a woman's toilet, is completely and utterly wrong. Our society needs to wake up because the political class are destroying our society, and everybody right across the board, in politics, in universities, in the third sector, and in the press, they're all part of this agenda to destroy our society, to make our society worse, to downgrade it, to make it a lesser existence for the majority of people. Society should benefit all people. That is the whole purpose of it. So if you're from a minority, whether that be an ethnic minority, or if you're from a minority which has a different type of sexual orientation, then you should be treated the same and be treated fairly. But what you should not get is additional rights. Everybody should be treated equally, and everybody should be treated the same with equal consideration. But what we have now with the parties of the left is the degradation of our society. It is going backwards. And if we don't stand up and effectively defend women's rights, then I think that at the end of the day, our society will be so much the poorer, and it will create a rift in society which cannot be healed easily. Biological men cannot become women, and biological women cannot become men. That is not something that can be wished away and changed. The Labour Party needs to wake up. As I said, when I talk about the Labour Party, I'm actually talking about the leadership of the Labour Party. And I think at the end of the day, there are many reasons why people do not vote Labour. But the idea that the Labour Party of the 21st century should actually get involved in giving people more reasons not to vote Labour is rather stupid. Under this new policy of the Labour Party, I am not going to be voting Labour if a Labour Party will not defend the rights of women. I think that the majority of working class people are not going to vote for a Labour Party that won't defend women's rights. And at the present moment, this Labour Party under Keir Starmer is in such political trouble that they are going to be the party that seems to be the party of permanent opposition. Yes, the Labour Party can win some seats in by-elections, etc., etc. But when push comes to shove, at the end of the day, I think this is a party which is going to suffer. The Labour Party has tried to cause as much division as possible in society in order to get elected. This is the nature of politics, but it's not the nature of politics to deny reality. And the Labour Party needs to learn the lesson. So far, the Labour Party cannot learn that lesson. There's too much division in the Labour Party. There's too many people in the Labour Party who want to destroy the Labour Party from within for their agenda. And I think that's incredibly sad. Maybe one day the Labour Party leadership will wake up to the reality of life, the reality of equality, not a skewed equality for people from a minority who wish to destroy the rights of others. Thanks very much for watching, and if you like what I've said, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much. This is George Laird, and this is the Laird Report. Thanks for watching.